Brian, of course, you're going to evaluate draft prospects this week, but even more pressing, 2 weeks till free agency. As you decide on players to retain, give more contracts to, or to release and move on from, over the years, the Packers have done a pretty good job of deciding when to move on from players. I mean, Micah Hyde had a great career in Buffalo, but a lot of times you've made the right decisions. Why do you think organizationally, both in your tenure and while you were under Ted, have you been able to do that?
That's a good question. I think, I think one of the things we do is I think we're very honest with ourselves in the evaluation process of our own football team. We spend a lot of time on that as to where guys are in their kind of career arc, and understand that in that decision-making process, you can't be too sentimental.
Brian, what did Rich give you in stepping down, especially since you guys had put outward support for it?
Yeah, again, losing him is tough just because of what he brought to our football team, but I think there were just other opportunities that he wanted to pursue. He's coached a long time in the National Football League, and as you know, that can be a grind, and I think he had some other opportunities that he was looking at. Really good coach, and wherever he ends up, that place is going to be better for it.
Statutory picks and the cost of signing free agents that aren't free agents. But another layer to that as well is if you restructure contracts to make space to sign free agents, you lose out on possibly compensatory and then kick the can down the road for pain later on. How do you evaluate whether that's worth it? This week's big, of course, to figure out maybe who might be out there in the free agent market, I take it.
Yeah. So the most important thing, I think, is the 2026 season and how we're going to chase a championship. That's the most important thing. That will never change. You do have to balance it to make sure that you can be competitive year in and year out. So, again, you don't want to, pile up that credit card a little too much so that you can't be competitive down the road. But the most important thing right now is how do we put out the best team we can in 2026.
Brian, when you look at special teams, obviously with Rich here, there were statistically improvements, but had highs and lows. Moving forward, what do you want to see from the group to take that next step, and what do you want to see from how the new coordinator coaches that group?
Yeah, I think again, we're working through the process of a new coordinator now. Once we have a chance to make that hire, getting with that coach and making sure that we, from a personnel perspective, we talked a little bit about it earlier as far as the new kickoff rule and how many more kickoffs there are and the body types we're looking for. But to me, it's just consistency. It's always about consistency and making sure that we're ready for whatever situation that comes up in a football game and ready to play winning football in that situation.
How big, how big are special teams just in general?
Incredibly important, not only from a field position as part of the game, but all these games are coming down to a kick or a couple points. So everything matters, the details matter, and that's a big part of winning a football game.
Brian, you mentioned that there's more out there to accomplish for you guys when you kind of look back at last season, stuff like that. In the nil era, are players a little more ready for this level? And with what you guys have done, they're very aware of the Packers, like what the standard is and stuff like that. Is it harder? Is it easier? Is that what you stress in these interviews and this whole process?
Yeah, I think the NIL has changed some things. I don't know whether it makes it easier or harder. As far as the players go, I think they're certainly more educated about the business part of this. But as far as their development and moving around, I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure how that's affected. I think it's very individual. Some guys have gone from lower levels to higher levels. It helped them tremendously in their development. But at the same time, the lack of continuity sometimes has hurt guys. So I think it's really individual in nature. But the business part, they're very well versed now in that part of it.
In announcing extensions for you, Ed talked about the collaboration that you've done with Matt and Russ to try to improve and enhance what you've already accomplished and not just run it back. What has that collaboration been like as you attack, trying to find a way to not have the end of the season that you had this past season?
Yeah, obviously Matt, Russ, and I have been working on the football thing for a long time now. It's kind of part of that as well since Mark retired, and it's been really, really good, and it's really very consistent. I think the thing that I enjoy most about the process is just no one's we're not hiding from anything. We're very, very realistic about where we are and what our team looks like and what we need to do. So, again, this is a big week for us. The next few weeks are very important for us, and I think we're excited about what we can do to help the football team next year.
Do you have continuity with your scouting and your personnel and your evaluation? John Eric obviously leaving, but people understand the continuity of you and Matt and Russ. What about in this week and this part of the game?
Yeah, excited for John Eric and his opportunity with the Dolphins. That's very well earned, and to have Halfley with him is, I think, exciting for them, and certainly a loss for us. But at the same time, we've had a pretty big staff. We're fortunate to have a big staff and a lot of experience on our staff. So I really don't expect us to skip a beat. There's so much crossover between the guys that we have in college and pro and how we handle things, and they've been around for a long time. So the new areas that they may jump into because John Eric's not here, they probably already have to some extent, and they're very well versed in that.
How did Will Redmond get on your radar?
A bunch of our college scouts had been through, whether it was LSU or Auburn, where he's been working and had a relationship there. They were very high, spoke very highly of him, and he was going to, regardless, going to do some stuff with us this spring. And then it just kind of, as he did, it just kind of, made some sense to bring him in. I think he's going to be a really good asset to our group.
Brian, when you look at this draft class, what position groups do you see where there's a lot of strength, a lot of depth?
Yeah, still working through it a little bit, but the numbers in the offensive line seem to be up quite a bit. I think this particular, and we saw a little bit last year, we'll probably see a little bit next year, but through the end of the COVID years and the transfer portal, we got a lot. We're kind of finishing up a lot of the 5, 6, 7 year guys. So some of the bigger man positions, there's just a bunch of guys that have developed, maybe didn't play their first 3 years and played the last 2 or 3. Some older guys in that group. So certainly in the offensive line and the defensive line, we've seen some of that. But the numbers across the board look pretty good. I think it's a good draft. Certainly there's going to be a number of opportunities to help us.
When it comes to international games, what did you think of what the Vikings did last year with like a doubleheader, Ireland and London? Would the Packers ever be open to Germany and London or something like that?
I don't know if we have a whole lot of choice in that. But no, I think I've talked about it before. As an organization, we have to be, really, really good at traveling abroad and playing those games. I don't think we've had a ton of success over there, so we have to get back to that, or not back, but we have to get to a point where we're really, really comfortable going over there and winning football games. And so, for me, that just means you got to be excited about it, and you have to make sure that your process is tight and continue to evolve, because it's not. I think it's just going to be more.
Ryan, you mentioned you joked around about Micah's rehab and stuff like that, but how much improvement comes from within, whether it's Micah or Tucker or guys like that that are true leaders on your team?
Yeah, our 2026 will be defined mostly by that, right? The guys that are already here, and what they do to get better and better our football team. And I'm excited about that because I really do like the group of guys we have in that locker room. There's some guys that are really, they're coming into the best years of their career. They've got a lot of experience under their belt now. We're a seasoned team, and I think right now what we have to do is we have to be able to get in those moments that we've struggled with the last 2 years and finish them off, and I'm excited about that.
What is Micah nickname you offhand?
Huh?
What is Micah nickname you?
We'll keep that. That's
But they're both doing well?
Yes.
As far as what you can see and what you can tell and
right.
things like that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You mentioned scouting first-round guys, even without the first-round pick, if for nothing else, for down the road. If there was someone that you came across that you really coveted this year, you expected to go in that range, would you be willing to make a move to get back up in there? Do you have what it takes to do that?
Yeah, I think it would take a significant amount of resources to get back up in to the first round. But if that player was available and that made sense to us, we would never shy away from that. I wouldn't expect that to happen. Usually, the areas of the first round we could get into would be more towards the back half, and so I wouldn't expect it. But if the right player fell, then we'll be aggressive about it.
That said, with the draft, if you have to wait to 52 and you're watching all these players go off the board, do you also reflect on, hey, we got Micah? That's like 6 months ago this week. As you think back on that trade and how it's all progressed, what are your thoughts on that and the opportunity cost of it?
Yeah, obviously it didn't end the way we wanted to with the injury, but couldn't be happier with making that move and what Micah brought to our football team, not only on the field and the way he disrupted offenses and tilted the field in our favor, but he was an excellent addition to our locker room as well, and that's important to us, and I'm excited for what the years to come with him are going to look like.
Brian, as you think back over combines past, do you remember guys making big moves up this particular week in your mind, in your evaluation?
Yeah, players don't really move up and down the board with the combine. This is the main thing is the medical and then getting to meet these players. The testing is awesome because we have them all here, and it's nice to kind of compare apples to apples, so to speak. But this is an information gathering time for us. And there are times that, whether it's a face-to-face interview, whether it's something they did physically, maybe it's a medical thing that we had to clear up, that it does change the course of where we might see that player. But so again, it's really, really important. I think the headlines of a guy ran really fast and that just shoots him up the board. I think most of the time, particularly now with all the GPS data and the things that we have, that doesn't usually happen like that.
Brian, I know you guys want competition at every position, but when you look at, your team specifically in certain positions, where do you feel like you guys need more competition at?
Yeah, I think throughout, quite frankly, but certainly in the secondary, I think we're going to need to add some competition, probably inside linebacker, throughout the offense. I mean, there's to me, it's not about positionally, it's more about our entire football team, because how we're going to play. We have a new defensive coordinator. There's so many things that are undetermined right now, but to me, if you get enough well-rounded football players that can compete at any level, the better you're going to be.
Two more guys.
Rashawn Gary, what do you make of the season he had and the career so far with the injury and extension? 7.5 sacks, 60 pressures, you pointed out, but no sacks the last 10 games.
Yeah, and then sometimes with pass rushers, there's an ebb and flow to that. As far as production goes, it was with sacks, but he was impactful towards the second half of the season. Maybe not as much as he was in the first, but he was impactful. And Rashawn's got all the talent in the world, and he's produced at a high level for us since he's been here. And we would expect that next year as well.